Welcome back to the AM Take podcast. I'm Marv.
I'm Amy, and we're two parts of this very awesome podcast.
Join us as we explore a variety of topics every week.
Life is busy, and in our daily routines, we could all use some life hacks to make things just a bit easier.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case?
Yeah. I mean, I
Sounds good.
always appreciate that.
You appreciate unsolicited advice?
Oh, man, I didn't think about it this way. Right. It could be annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. There was a case actually when Jonathan went to Quebec City and then he was invited to dinner with his friend. And then he sent me a picture of his friend's rice cooker. And his friend bought this, the elephant brand.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it was called Zoitsushi or something like that.
Sojinoshi? What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. It's either, it's always the elephant brand or the tiger brand, right? Yeah, I have the tiger brand.
Same here.
Now, a little bit of a backstory is that I bought that tiger brand rice cooker off Facebook Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And what I forgot to do was to ask the seller for a picture of the inner pan or the inner pot.
Oh,
because it was all scratched up. It was scratched up. And then I was thinking, well, I can't cook rice in this. Even if he told me, it cooks rice perfectly, don't worry.
It's going to stick all over.
No. Well, not only that, but it's not good for your health. So I had to order from the not the manufacturer, but the main seller in Canada of the Tiger brand products or whatever you call it. And so that was a bit of a delay and a little bit more expensive than I wanted it to be, but still not as expensive as a new one. But ever since, I've been doing PSAs to anybody who has either the elephant or the tiger brand rice cookers. I've been telling them, make sure you don't use any metals.
Yeah, I mean, but that's I knew where you're going with that, but that's kind of a given though. It comes with a plastic like right, like rice spoon, I guess, or a rice scooper. Right,
but okay, I don't know if people are gonna find me racist or something like that, but
oh my god.
But white folks grew up knowing you need to fluff the rice. And how do they fluff the rice? They usually use a fork to fluff the rice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So,
really?
Yeah, they do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they use a fork to fluff the rice in the pan, like in the pot.
Oh, because if you cook it on the pot, then you have to fluff it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But they usually, stovetop, they use...
even with the stovetop, you shouldn't use a metal fork on a pot. You should be using like chopsticks would be easier, but a wooden spoon wouldn't work. But like plastic or silicone,
for non-stick pans, like for non-stick pots, yeah. But if it's like those regular metal ones that you cook rice in, you could use your metal fork.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't use metal on metal. I guess it would just flake off or something like that. Even like the stainless steel pan or pots. Excuse me. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a general rule for me too that I don't use metal for pots and pans. It's just the scratches. Or if you do,
you're extra careful with it.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't use a fork. I would probably use like a spoon or like the bottom part of a spoon. To move things around so that it doesn't touch the metal or anything like that. I guess.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's your first life tip that you didn't ask for, folks.
Yeah. Oh no, but I was going somewhere with that.
Oh.
So that's after I said that because.
Oh no.
I told Joe. Tell him. Not to use anything metal, anywhere around it. And then I also told him, don't wait until it's dry and crusty to wash it. You wash it right away and use soft cloth, not those sponge, not those metal sponge, right? And then his friend apparently said, I know. I watched Uncle Rogers.
Wow.
Which then I sent a funny gif. I was like, good with Uncle Roger.
Yeah.
Very good idea. But then I realized after that it might have been some unsolicited advice that people could
Good job.
could actually get annoyed about. But I guess it's like some form of PTSD from that scratched up inner pot that I bought from Facebook Marketplace. So yeah.
I see.
Bad.
Wait, so going off that, you said that don't let it dry.
Yeah.
I usually after I finish eating rice or using the rice from the the rice cooker, I just let it dry out. I unplug it and let it dry out, and then
and then you put
that makes it easier.
And then you put the rice away in a Tupperware, right?
And I fill it up with. Well, I'm talking about after you're done eating rice.
Oh.
And you leave the the inner tray.
Yeah.
I don't immediately wash it. I just let it sit until it dries off completely, and then what I do is when I'm getting to clean it, I fill it up with hot water, and then I let that sit, and then I clean it after that, basically, because it softens everything up.
Oh wait, hold on. But wait.
But I guess you could clean it immediately afterwards too. As I guess that makes sense.
Well, okay. So when you cook rice, how much rice do you cook?
About 3 cups usually. No, 2 cups. Okay. 2 cups.
2 cups, and then in one sitting, how many cups can you eat?
Probably half of that. 1 cup's worth, and then.
Okay, so then do you just have the keep warm function on until you finish the rice that you cooked, or do you store the uneaten rice in the fridge?
Oh no, I leave it on warm because I usually finish it by the next day.
Okay. See, that's
usually, yeah.
Okay, I see now. That's the difference.
How do you reheat?
You just
so you put it in the fridge?
Yeah.
Oh, but it doesn't taste the same, does it? Don't you sprinkle water on it or something like that?
Well, it doesn't get that dry. It doesn't get that dry. It's just when you reheat it, it
doesn't have the same texture though. It doesn't have that fluffy texture, right?
Because it's been in the fridge, it's a little bit more condensed, but once you heat it up, you could just fluff it up again. It's fine.
I guess so.
I see. I was a little bit confused earlier, but I turn off the keep warm function. I wait till the rice is colder or room temperature, and then I store it in the fridge. And when I do that, that's when I would wash the pot with the soft cloth.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never put rice in the fridge. It just, I don't know. Usually I finish it before I have to use it as leftovers or anything like that. At the very maximum, 1 additional day or something like that. And that's using the keep warm function basically.
But I bought
my rice cooker, the keep warm function doesn't it doesn't stay on the whole time. It's on and off basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But see, I bought the 10 cups.
Oh gosh.
Tiger brand. So it's big. It's big. So the minimum, they say you can cook 2 cups, but then I don't really trust it, right? Because it's 10 cups. It's made for 10 cups.
Yeah.
I always end up cooking a minimum of 3 cups. That's why I can't finish it.
Yeah.
In one
Why don't you get a smaller one? I have a 5 cup one because I know I can't.
Well, because
10 cup is that's family size, bro. And
because I bought it off Facebook Marketplace. It's not always
Oh, I see. I see.
We don't always get to choose.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Right. So so that's that. First advice or life hack of
don't use metal spoons.
Yeah, don't use metal
utensils.
Yeah, exactly. Don't scratch your inner pot, please. It costs a lot to replace. It cost me $110 or $100.
Wait, for the inner pot?
Yeah, just for the inner pot. Yeah.
Bro, my rice cooker itself was $110.
Yeah, because it's smaller.
But that's the 5-gallon one. The 5-cup one, excuse me. But man, holy crap! That's roughly half the cost of the rice cooker, is it not?
Yeah, I know. Well, no, actually, the Tiger brand rice cooker would cost new $260 plus tax.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I checked. Yeah. So aside for that, how you been? Anything new this week?
I've been good. Nothing really. Just more work, but nothing new for sure. How about you guys?
We've been prepping for going on the New York city trip. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of prep work.
You guys have your passports?
Yeah.
And documentation ready and stuff?
Yeah, all of that jazz.
Have you guys driven through the States before?
Last time I did that was when I was a kid.
Oh.
And I wasn't the one driving, of course. But it was like family trips when I was very young.
Do you anticipate any problems when you guys cross the border?
We have our vaccination papers ready. Okay, I don't know how the toll works because back in the day it was throw some change, right? But I don't know how it works now. Do they accept
I don't know.
cards?
There's a toll? I thought you guys could cross through immigration.
Wait,
are you talking about when you
when you
get to like
I
New
remember...
York? Is that what you're talking about?
No, because my memory is fuzzy, but what I remember about the States is that every few hundred kilometers, there's long lineups, and then when you get to the Mr. Patrol guy, you have to throw some change in the box.
Wait, every 100 kilometers, like after immigration or after like after you get to the States?
Well, isn't that a toll? Yeah, in the States. Isn't that a toll?
I don't know. I don't know if that's a toll or not. But once you pass the border, you're saying every 100 kilometers there's a toll.
No, not 100 exactly, but every few hundred kilometers. Yeah.
No, okay.
Right? Like it's between states, right?
No, that's not exactly the way it works. Because there's certain roads that if you take, they're privatized so that you do pay that toll if you drive through it.
Oh.
Like one big example you guys probably hit was, it's called the New Jersey Turnpike.
Okay.
And I believe it's between New Jersey and New York. And if you decide to go on there, instead of taking like the back roads or the side roads or what have you, or a different way, you pay a toll before you enter that road. Okay. So it's not every road, it's specific roads and that you take basically. Okay. But I believe it's still coin based. It's been like a few years since I've driven through it. Yeah. So but yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
We don't have coins. What we did today, we actually went to the bank and the bank was closed. So then we had to go to an exchange place.
Oh.
Yeah, because we had to have a bit of cash, right, when we go to the States. So
I suppose.
Yeah, so we took out worth of $150 of US. The guy literally gave us $100 bill and a $50 bill, and we're like, can you give us smaller change than that, please? We're not going to, what do you want me to do with $100 bill? I want 20s. I want 10s.
Yeah, that's
I want
funny.
5s. But no, we don't have any coins. We'll see.
I think you guys should be fine. I mean, worst case scenario, you just drive through it.
What? Without paying? How's that gonna work?
They'll probably send you because if I remember correctly, you just drive through it and you throw the change and that's it. And if you end up not paying, then I think they'll send you a bill or something. They have those
bars, no? That goes down and then it goes up.
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know. My memory's fuzzy.
I don't know. Anyway, on first of all, on Google Maps, there's an option to bypass a toll.
Oh, is there?
So you can
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it'll give you directions to go where you'll bypass the toll. But keep in mind, the reason why there's tolls is because it's more convenient and it's faster sometimes. So, but you could probably look that up, I guess. Yeah. I don't know about now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'm pretty sure it's still cash in some form. I just don't know if it's coins. Because they might have an attendant that will give you change or something. But
okay. Then if that's the case, we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah, don't quote me on that though.
Aside from that, yesterday we smelled burning.
Oh.
And we were so alert.
In the house?
Yeah, because we thought that something was on fire.
What?
Yeah. It was everywhere. The smell was everywhere. It smelled like burning. And turns out, we Googled it. Turns out it was, the most common problem is if you don't change the filter of your furnace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we took off the filter and this is strange because we cleaned it recently. It's one of those filters that you can reuse as long as you clean it. Yeah, but we cleaned it recently, and yeah, it was smelling like burning. So we had to turn off the heating and slept in the cold, hoping that the pipes don't freeze.
Oh. So what happened?
Because it was
after that?
After that in the morning, then we went to a local hardware store and bought new filters, and it works perfectly now. There's no smell because we thought something was burning.
I see.
Like legit, there was a fire somewhere. But yeah, moral of the story is,
so
it doesn't last forever. Actually... Those reusable.
Oh, okay. It doesn't last forever. I see.
Yeah, so we'll just get those, the ones that, are disposable, and then you change it every 3 months.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Oh, well.
Then aside for that, I bought probiotics for my cats. And...
Yogurt?
No, they're in like, they look like snacks. They look like those treats.
Oh.
And the reason why I wanted to buy probiotics is because Yuki farts a lot.
Oh my gosh.
He farts so much, and I never knew that cats could be this stinky, because Yoru doesn't fart. She doesn't. Or if she does, it doesn't smell like anything. And the other day, he was being all cuddly, right? And then he was just rubbing his face on my face and then purring loudly. And then I heard the faintest and then the stench. I almost puked.
Oh, man.
So I looked it up, and apparently kittens are susceptible to like their gut biome isn't formed yet or something like that. So that's why I bought some probiotics. And I figured it would help with Yoru's puking from time to time as well.
How long has it been so far since you got the probiotics?
Yeah, it's like 2 days.
How long you got him? 2 days? Oh, gosh. Yeah. I was going to say, has there been any change yet?
No, there's no significant change yet. I'm hoping that there will be. But yeah, that's what's going on.
And tell us about this new app that you found.
Right. I was telling you just earlier about this app called Too Good To Go. And it is an amazing life hack app, if you will. It shows you the local restaurants or local stores, grocery stores, that you could purchase a bag of goodie. It's like a surprise bag. You don't know what you can get, but it's to eliminate waste, because those things are probably going to get thrown out anyway. So, for example, I bought something from Pizza today, and it's supposed to be worth $18, but I bought it for $6. I got 2 large cheese pizza and 1 small vegetarian pizza from that.
Nice.
And it's such a good deal. I've used it before for baked goods.
Was the food pretty good still?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay, yeah. That's good. So it's like basically instead of them throwing out, you can just buy the last, things that they had before they throw them out.
Yeah. I've bought bagels before as well. You always end up with too much food. Try to give it away or store it in the freezer. But yeah, you've used it before too, you were saying. Yeah,
I use it. It's tougher for me because I don't really like sweets, and a lot of the I guess establishments on there are bakeries and grocery stores of that nature. And so last time I used it, I got a bunch of like chocolate muffins, and I was able to eat 1 or 2 of them, but man, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it was very cheap. It was like $6, and I got like half a dozen, a little bit over half a dozen worth of baked goods, and I couldn't finish it all.
Yeah.
But it was definitely worthwhile.
Yeah.
The only thing is that I think there's a time frame you have to go.
There is, yes.
Okay, so I didn't know it was the same for you guys, but yeah, there was a time where I had to go like right between 8:30 and 9 p.m. and right before they close and stuff, which is okay, which makes sense.
Oh, that's strange. I went between 5 and 6 p.m. That was my time slot.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So it wasn't even like really old pizza. It's just whatever that was I don't know, at the back. Somebody didn't want it, I guess.
Oh, that makes sense because I guess because otherwise they wouldn't need to throw it out immediately to save space or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Good to know.
So yeah, let's move on to the main topic today. We are going to talk about some life hacks. Marv, why don't you start us off with some financial life hacks?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not a financial advisor, and obviously, if you have any questions or things of that nature, consult a financial advisor or your investment banker or your bank or whatnot. But this is just things that I've learned through the years that might help somebody out.
Yeah.
So in the States, we have 401ks, obviously. If you have a full-time job, you have 401k contributions typically that you can contribute to. Usually they match by a percentage of your employer up to 7%. You want to max it out as much as you can. Usually you have two options. One is a Roth 401k and one is a traditional 401k. Typically, depending on how much you make, it might be better to just go off with a traditional 401k because that one is pre-tax, so you don't get taxed on it when you contribute it, and it lowers your your income burden, and then with that said, also lowers your tax bracket at the end of the year when you do your income tax.
Yeah.
Reason why you want to do that one is because if you do the Roth one, you pay tax on it immediately when you deduct it from your income. Now, when you're 60 or you're close to retirement age, when you're retiring, you essentially won't have a job per se. So when you need to take this out, your tax bracket is going to be very low because you will be retiring. You won't have an income, or you won't have a steady salary income or what have you. And so that'll essentially put your tax bracket at one of the lowest. And so with that said, when you do take out your 401k, because it was the pre-tax one, they'll calculate your tax bracket at the time of withdrawal, which you'll already be out of a job because you're retired. And so you'll be at the lowest tax bracket as opposed to like with the Roth 401k, say you're making $150,000 and you're contributing to your Roth 401k. That tax that they tax the amount that you put in there is going to be based on your current like wage. So it's going to be pretty high. So that's why you want to, when you start off your career, sure, it might be good to do both, contribute both as well too. But as it goes through as the years go on, you might want to do the traditional only, because then, when you retire, your tax bracket will be lower, and then you get taxed less when you take out all your retirement income.
Now, I got a question about this 401k, because we don't have that. Us here, it's called an RRSP. But for us, the RRSP works the same as 401k. We are limited to 18% of our income that we can put in our RRSP account every year. Is that the same for the 401k?
There's a hard limit, I think. I believe it's $22,000. For 2022, it's $20,500, and then for 2023, it's going to be $22,500.
Oh my god!
So there is there's a hard limit to it, basically.
So it's not working. It's not like a percentage. It's not relevant to your income. Then it's like it's a set amount. But what you take out every paycheck, is up to you to decide, like what percentage you want to take out. Like you can contribute 5% of every paycheck to it, or you can change it depending on the benefit schedule you have. Sometimes you can change it once every quarter. Like you can do 5% for per paycheck one quarter, and then change it to 10%, what have you. But the maximum that you can insert into your 401k is set every year. So that's very interesting. That's a big difference between Canada and US, I would say, because like it's a huge difference. Like say someone who has an income of like 200k per year, and then someone who has 50k per year. We're both 18%, capped at 18% of our income that we can put in our retirement account.
Which is, I think that's a better way of doing it, I think, in my opinion, because then it scales with how much you make, right?
Exactly.
Because sometimes the more you make, you might have a different kind of lifestyle. And so percentage base can definitely help more in that regard. And then on top of that, there's catch-up contributions.
Yeah.
But if you're 50 years old and older, you can contribute additional beyond the $20,500 or $23,500. Yeah, I believe in 2022, but it's kind of a minuscule amount. It's $6,500 or $6,500 this year, and so that if you're 50 years old or older, you can add that much additional to it, which is okay. But ultimately, I think a percentage basis would be better than a hard limit. But obviously, you can take in other forms of investment instead of putting into 401k. You can put into the market, you can put into a certain investments and things like that as well too. And with that said, if you are interested in looking at a financial advisor, I would always advise you to look at a fiduciary financial advisor. These are organizations that are created to assist the client. They put the client's best interest first before they make any money. So basically, maybe when you make money, they make money. The commission may be based on percentage or might be a set fee, and they don't really push for anything. They'll advise you, but they're not going to push you towards the expensive ones because that they won't get such a huge cut of it, but they'll make money if you make money. As opposed to if you go to a for-profit one, obviously they're going to push you towards more risky or stocks and investments that may pay them out more based on the fees that are taken out from there as well too, as opposed to low fee, more conservative investments. Basically they're just...
do you know the average percentage of commission that the fiduciary gets?
I don't, unfortunately. I mean, it would depend really on the organization you go with or the company you go with. There's so many different ones out there, but depending on who you are with right now, you can always see if they currently are a fiduciary or if they're not. But I would always advise to go with a fiduciary. That way you know that they're making the money work for you as opposed to for their own gains, basically. Because a lot of people, once they give up their capital or their money to a financial advisor, they think that they're putting the person's interests ahead of them, but that's not always the case. But with a fiduciary, they're bound by law to put your interests first. And so that's something a lot of people don't realize until it's too late, because they'll put money in. They'll be like, why is nothing happening with this money? Well, why am I constantly paying out these fees or these commissions? And, I'm not actually making money. It just seems like I'm losing money. At the same time, the market is the market. It goes up and down as well too. But with a for-profit one, they may not take the best interest for you. It might be in the best interest of the shareholders or whatever investments they have in, and not really what you have or what will help you the most. So, that's why I usually advise people to look at that aspect. And a lot of people don't think about that until it's too late, until they start questioning their finances and their investments, and like, why am I losing money for no reason? Or why am I constantly paying out these fees every month when nothing's happening with my money, Because sometimes it just feels like they don't hear from their advisors. They don't call them up. They have to check in. They get nothing but a bill every month. So, if that's the case with you, I would take a look and find out for sure if they're actually working for you or if they're just working to line their own pockets, basically. Because it is, after all, a business as well too. So you have to think about that aspect of things. And then a couple more things. If you have any kind of money or assets to your name, obviously make sure you have a living will. If you haven't had one set up yet, it'd be a good idea to start one. It doesn't cost too much. I think $500 to have one written up by a lawyer, and you can set everything in your life set up in case anything happens to you, whether or not you want these things done, your service, or you want to give things away. It's always a good idea to start prepping for that. I think with us as older millennials, we tend to forget about that stuff because
what's a good
it's not
age
really ingrained to us. It's not really taught to us.
What's a good age to go?
I'd say 25. I'd say 25, or when you first start getting into a job that you can see as a career, or any substantial amount of money that you start making money. I mean, 25 I'd say is good to start thinking about it. 30 is good. If you already have a family, say, you have children, you have a wife or your husband or what have you, that's obviously the time to do it, obviously. Because that's like, you have people who are dependent on you, you have significant others, things like that. That's a good time to think about those things. Obviously, you want to include your significant other with that conversation.
I wanted to say on that note,
Oh.
life insurance as well. It's the same principle, really. Like if you get personal life insurances earlier, then it's actually going to cost you less to do that because
Yeah,
you're younger, you
that's an
won't have as much illness, and typically
yeah,
it's much
exactly.
cheaper.
Yeah, it is much cheaper when you're healthy, you're younger as well too. Your parents may have taken out life insurance policies on you as well too. Just know that it's a very complex topic because
It is.
there's different levels, different tiers. You have term life insurance, you have full life insurance, which typically is seen as a scam because it doesn't really pay out as much. Term life is usually you can get it from 10 to 20 to 30 years, and usually it's a good idea to just it's significantly cheaper and it can pay out the same as well too, but you're not locked into anything or forced into anything as well too. But that would depend on your situation and your financial, especially your financial situation, whether or not you can afford that. A lot of times your company that you work for may offer that as well too as an incentive. Maybe it's a very minimal cost. For my company, 500,000 of 30-year term is like what, $5 a paycheck and stuff.
Oh,
and
that's
so,
not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. So it's a good thing to take advantage
that's
of.
worth it. Yeah. So since we're on the topic of insurance, I wanted to jump onto the mortgage life insurance, actually, not to be confused with the mortgage loan insurance, but there's this whole thing about mortgage life insurance versus personal life insurance, which one is better. And the personal life insurance, in my opinion, is much better than the mortgage life insurance. Now, just to clarify, mortgage life insurance is when, knock on wood, something happens to you, you have a mortgage to pay, but something happened to you and, well, obviously you can't pay it anymore. Mortgage life insurance is going to pay for whatever's left over of your mortgage to the bank that you owe. Whereas a lot of people confuse it with mortgage loan insurance is basically if you don't have the 20% down payment, then you have to pay that loan insurance. So that's a big distinction between the two. And then whereas the personal life insurance is, knock on wood, something happens, but you're insured for, say, that set amount, let's say 500,000, right? Your beneficiary will get the 500,000. They can do whatever they want with it. They can pay off the mortgage and have some leftover amount for themselves. Whereas mortgage life insurance decreases as you pay your mortgage, right? So if you initially insured for 500,000, 10 years down the line, it won't be 500,000 anymore.
That's true. It makes sense.
So yeah, just get that distinction down. And well, see, then I asked myself, why would anybody get the mortgage life insurance then if the personal life insurance is much better? It's actually easier to obtain the mortgage life insurance. A lot of banks will offer it to you the moment that you sign for.
Yeah, there's not like a health examination involved with that, right?
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so much easier to get the mortgage life insurance. The process is not rigorous. It's not detailed. So that's why. But if you can do the switch, you could do it now. I mean, it's worth it. It generally costs less, and you're insured for more.
But that only covers the mortgage, correct?
Yes. Well, the mortgage life insurance only covers the mortgage, whatever you owe still.
Yeah. So it'd be a good idea to get both, perhaps? Personal life insurance as well as mortgage life insurance?
I mean, honestly, I would just get 2 different life insurances at this point.
Personal life insurance or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not go for the mortgage life insurance because, like, let's say, you still pay $100-something dollars per month, or I don't know how much it costs, but and then you still pay that 25 years down the line every month when your mortgage is $6,000 left.
I see.
That's not worth it.
True. You still,
Whereas your life insurance is still worth $500K.
Yeah, no matter how much you're paying for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So next, credit card, obvious, use and pay off. if you're carrying a balance, you can call in to see if they will reduce the interest rate on it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people get trapped into it. I mean, I've been there before as well too with credit card debt, and sometimes you make mistakes and you get put into situations where you use your credit card and you just can't pay it off, basically, whether or not it's from lack of income or interest rates piling up. But there's definitely ways to take care of that debt as well too. Mm-hmm. The most obvious way is to increase your income. That way you can handle it. Right. The second way is to potentially, this is only if you have that discipline, that financial discipline, to be able to have 2 cards and not spend on it, is to open another card and do a balance transfer so that you're not piling on that interest rate as well too. But if you have substantial credit card debt, it may not be the wisest choice, because say you have $5,000 of credit card debt on one card, and if you open another card, they give you a limit of $1,000, then it probably wasn't worth it to do it that way. But it's always good to just try and pay it down as soon as you use it. And a good thing to do is to, once you use a credit card to a substantial amount, you can schedule payments already. Keep in mind, a lot of credit card companies only let you make a certain number of payments in a cycle. I know for one of my cards, they only let you make 3 payments at the most, and then that's it, basically. So what I like to do is, and this really depends on your financial situation, is I set auto pay on all my cards. Yeah. And I set it to the minimum the payment, and that way I never miss a payment. If I forget to, make a payment, then at least it'll be auto drafted. At least the minimum amount will be auto drafted, so you don't get hit with a late fee or anything like that. If you forget, or things like that as well. So if you set that auto pay every month and you set it to the minimum, at the very least you won't be late. And then you can start working on paying down the additional debt, adding more than just the minimum payment to it as well. Whatever you can, because every little amount helps at the end.
Speaking of credit card, I have 2 life hacks, actually. I just thought of one when you were talking about credit card. A lot of new parents, they're going to add their kids, like their infant kids, babies, as a user to their credit card. So then they actually build credit since their birth. So by the time they're 18, they have 800 points in their credit score.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope, yeah. I'd say, because if you're a very responsible, parent, sure. If a lot of people go the way of identity theft, where they sign up their kid for a credit card and they have an additional source of credit, things like that. So if your parents hopefully you are very responsible. If they have
good intentions, basically.
Yeah, if they have good intentions, then they will do that. But it's definitely not necessary, I'd say, because when you are 18, or when you 16, 17, 18, you can open a secured credit card, which is a credit card that has some collateral with it, usually $500. You put down $500 deposit, and then they give you a credit card that has a $500 limit, that if you forget to pay it off or anything like that, they can at least pull from the deposit to cover it, just in case, because obviously it's your first time using credit card. And then from there you can build your credit slowly, and then they'll increase your limit and go from there, basically. So I think that's a better way of doing it. But if you are financially responsible and you're not going to take advantage of your kid being 5, then sure, that's another way that's an easy way to build credit, for sure. Because just having their name on there will definitely help them when they turn into 18, for sure.
Absolutely. And then the second life hack is, a lot of people actually get credit cards, but they don't know the benefits of their cards. Well, it depends on which card you take as well, but it's a good thing to know about the perks that comes with it. So I'm talking about extended warranty or purchase protection, which I read mine, and apparently within 90 days, if I get I don't know what I paid for stolen, then I could get a replacement. Or an extended warranty is, for my card, it's 2 additional years after the manufacturer's warranty. So if something breaks, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
In 2 years,
keep in mind some of that some of that applies to Canada because of their consumer protection laws as well too.
Right.
And then for us in the States, it really depends on your state sometimes as well too, whether or not you get 90 days, a year, 2 years, however, what have you. Typically California, New York, and any of the northeastern states, you have better perks in that regard because there's additional protections. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. Say for example, when you rent a car, if you use a credit card, it already covers the daily
it does
liability waiver.
It does.
And that's significant. It might cost like 25% of the actual cost of your rental, and people don't realize that they don't have to actually pay for it. And obviously the rental company is not going to tell you that because they want the extra payout. And so keep in mind, a lot of different cards have different perks. So that's an easy way to save money.
Bottom line is just like familiarize yourself.
You can always request a list of your benefits and features from your credit card company, and they'll send you a brochure. A lot of times you get those brochures when they change them, and it'll tell you exactly what you get from using a credit card, things of that nature.
And I discovered the other day because we were prepping for like New York City. So I was looking up at my credit card perks, and it has a lot of travel perks. So I think we have like up to $150 of upgrades.
Oh, nice.
So then we just have to, after, like, say I want to change seats and it costs me like an additional $50, that I can claim it to be refunded. It doesn't count as a reward.
Yeah.
It's a refund because we have up to $150. Or like say luggage or parking in the airport. And we have access to some sort of VIP lounge at the airport.
Wow.
And it's free.
Wow.
We've done it before when we went to the Europe trip, and it was awesome, man. We could just go there and eat like steaks and have wine and
now keep in mind,
it was amazing.
Now keep in mind, a lot of some of these cards that have these perks, they're gonna try and make the money back in certain ways, such as annual fees or higher interest rates and things like that. So keep that in mind. If you do get one with the annual fee, you have to make sure that it's actually worth it. Like for my card, I have one that pays for my Clear membership. Clear is a service where you can speed through the airport. You don't have to wait in security, or they'll put you at the front of the security line. And it's a membership that's I think worth $175 a year, and I see it as a benefit. And so
you travel a lot.
I do travel quite often, so it's worth it for me. And my annual fee of my credit card is $79. So because I do use Clear and I do use DoorDash, and the perks actually outweigh the cost. So that really helps. And sometimes I do call and ask if they can waive the annual fee, and depending on the person, sometimes it works. Most times it doesn't.
You can do that?
You can definitely try. You can try that, but it worked for me for the first year. But after that,
what'd you say?
I don't know. I'll probably try again this year.
What'd you say? You were struggling with money?
No, heck no. Because if you say that, then they're definitely going to charge you. I just asked if there was any way they can credit me the annual fee,
Oh, you just straight up went head in, like just being brutally honest.
Because,
okay.
The first time it happened, because I didn't utilize like my hotel credit. I have like a $200 hotel credit that I can use every year, and I didn't utilize it. And so I was like, since I didn't use that, can you waive the annual fee? And they were like, yeah, sure, we can do it. And then obviously that was the first year. I don't know if it's gonna happen every year, but you can always try. And so that's one thing. You don't know until you ask, and worst thing they could do is just say no.
Right.
So, and going along with that, sometimes your card might have different perks for having different services. Like my credit card pays for my DoorDash membership. If you say, for example, if you use like Spotify or any other streaming services, you might get a reward credit, or it might be worth significantly more than a regular purchase. That's one thing to look at as well too. On top of that, make sure you're actually using your streaming services. Like if you pay for Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, if you don't actually use it, there's really no point in paying for it, because we all know these don't have contracts, so you can just
cancel,
turn them off or stop them. And then when when there's a show you want to watch, then you can reinstate it or wait until the show is out in full. And that way you can just binge it in 2 weeks or something and then cancel your membership. I think a lot of people forget about, they think it's only $13 or $5 or what have you, but it adds up, and it looks like they're going to just increase prices in the future. I think Netflix is $21 now after tax, and so it used to be what, $14.99, and that's a huge jump, and so it definitely adds up. And if you're not using it, there's no point in keeping it, because you can always reactivate. Like the 2 services I only have now is Netflix because my family uses it, and then Spotify because I can't live without music, and so that's the only 2 services that I have. But I did have Disney Plus, and I thought I was going to be watching shows, and I didn't watch it, and I just canceled it. Same with Hulu. And so there wasn't anything on there that really piqued my interest. Even now, Netflix, I don't use it as much as I used to, but they did have some cool shows coming out recently. So that was pretty cool that I had it. But like I said, my family does use it. So I still have it. But it's always good to re-examine your usage cases.
You have Prime Video as well, right? Because it's included with the Prime.
Yeah, I have Prime Video because it comes with Amazon Prime, so I don't really
good shows
count that as a thing.
Yeah,
I suppose I don't use it, so that's the thing. If they were to spin off Prime Video and save me some money from not using Prime Video, I probably would take that offer. Okay. But yeah, it's just one of those things. If Prime Video was a separate thing, I probably wouldn't go for it.
No, I wouldn't
still use the service from Amazon. Yeah. And then along those lines, internet. A lot of people pay for additional speeds. I think there's a clear distinction between significant speeds. So say your cable company offers a 200 megabit service and a 400 megabit service, and there's a $20 difference between two. I think you should go for the 200 megabit because that's not a significant difference. You know, if you think about it, those 2 speeds. Now, if it's like 200 megabits versus 1,000, that's a pretty significant difference between the two. And then even at the same time, you have to wonder if you actually need all that. If you are running a server, if you
depends on
are
what
constantly
you're doing with
on
it.
the internet.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's a big factor because the price difference is significant between the two. It's almost double. And so I recently switched from T-Mobile Home, which is $50 a month, but it was very sporadic, very unreliable as well too. And I switched back to Spectrum, which is Time Warner Cable, and it was $50 as well too, but they're running a special, and it was on 200 megabits per second, which is fast enough for what I needed because that was at times faster but slower than T-Mobile Home, but I know it was reliable. So, and then they offered me the next tier up, which was $80, and it was 400 megabits per second. And when I checked the speed on my connection, I was already hitting 350. So it was like, okay, there's no point for me upgrading. There's be no point.
Wait, you were hitting 300 when you had like a 200 package?
Yeah, because they don't really put a hard limit on it. Exactly. Yeah. So that's just the way technology is when there's upgrades. And so you always have those moments where you go beyond what you're stated. And then at the same time, you have moments when you go below it as well too, depending on the number of users and things like that as well too. But also take a look at that and make sure that you're not paying too much for what you actually don't need. It might just take a phone call, 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so. So keep that in mind. And then on top of that, last piece of tip is if you have investments and you have debt, take a look at both of them. Compare your returns on your investment versus the interest rates on your debt. If you have credit card debt that is 18% interest and you have investments that are giving you a 3, 5, 7% return, it might be a good idea to take that out and pay off the debt, because whatever return you're getting on the investment is never going to cover the interest rate on your debt. Now, keep in mind capital gains taxes and basically taxes in general from withdrawing or selling off your investments. So, but you don't, you want to make sure you take care of your debt before you start investing. And
the opposite can also be true, because
exactly. Because
what I mean by that is Jonathan had for the longest time hadn't paid his student loan, but it was like a government student loan, so the interest rate is really low. I think it's like around 3%. But you get more money by investing. Like the percentage was higher.
That makes sense.
5%
Yeah.
at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why he hadn't paid his student loan for such a long time, because it was more beneficial to invest than to pay off the debt.
But you still eventually want to pay off the debt too. You don't want
Yeah,
to
of course,
sit there.
of course.
Because it's going to start accruing interest. And so
Yes.
what you can do is you can maybe use the investment to pay the student loan. You never know. Things are like that as well too. So especially if your return is significantly higher as well too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all I have to add for the financial side of things. So
yeah, we can move on to other life hacks beyond financial. So for me, it would be a lot of DIY hacks.
There you go. Good go, Amy.
So honestly, ever since that we own our own home, you are responsible for the repairs, the constructions, right? So it's you're no longer renting, right? It's no longer a landlord taking care of all these stuff. So it's additional costs, but a lot of things you can do it yourself, really. You just have to learn how to do it. And YouTube is amazing at giving you tutorials for that. Now, of course, you have to keep in mind that when a problem is beyond your capabilities, I'm talking about if, you got a broken pipe, you're not going to try to repair it yourself. Of course, you got to hire a plumber and then they got to replace everything, right? But if it's something simple and it just requires a little bit of knowledge, doesn't require that much of a specialized skill or specialized tools, then learn it and then save on the money. So for example, we learned how to change the sink drains, because it was leaking. So we changed that. It was simple enough. We also changed the faucets because it was leaking. And then we might as well change the bathroom sink all in all together, because for a year we had to close the hot water, so it was only cold water that was available.
Wow.
So then we changed the whole thing. It works now. Hot water is available in the guest bathroom. Jonathan installed electrical outlet in a closet, and he did that by using the light switch, the wires from the light switch, and he just extended that to the other side to the closet to make an electrical outlet. Electricity is finicky though. If you have to you have to be sure that you're safe and that you turn off go to your electrical box and then turn it off before you do anything. Just anything that you do, safety first. Right.
Yeah, and at the same time, make sure you know the laws, I guess, too, because sometimes depending on what kind of electricity work you do, you might have to pull a permit from the city. So just keep that in mind.
That's true.
Don't go all in without doing your research on this.
Yeah, construction as well. Like if you need to do a deck or something, I believe you have to go to the city hall to get a permit. But you can save a lot of money. There was one year where our AC broke, and it was in the middle of a heat wave too. It was so stupid. We had to MacGyver a freaking AC, and it was so ghetto. We filled up a lot of water bottles and then we put it in the freezer, and then ice packs as well.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And then we put it in.
And then you guys just put a fan, right?
Yeah, we just put a fan, and it was this. We had a weekly subscription for those food thing, the good food, or you call it Cook It, something like that, HelloFresh. And then they send you these boxes, but it's an insulated box, right? So we kept one of those. So we just cut out a hole. We put the fan, two holes. We put the fan on top, and then it comes out the other end. And then in the box would be all of your ice cold stuff. Yeah. And we had that for the office, and then at night we would sleep in the basement because the basement is cooler. But I was going somewhere with this.
Yes. That's basically an evaporative cooler, I guess, because the evaporation from the ice, and then you guys blow that.
Right, but that wasn't the hack. That was that is a hack in itself. What? But that wasn't the hack that I wanted to talk about. It was basically we went on YouTube to search the most common problems of AC not working. And it turns out that it's usually the capacitor that gives out. So we ordered that, but we also called the AC guy and he said, oh, I'll be available in only a week. And it was $200.
Oh, wow.
Versus the capacitor that costs like 20 or 40. I don't remember. But we got it in a couple of days and it was easy enough to change. So we did it and it works. So we saved a lot of money there. So that was the hack that I wanted to talk about. So just try to YouTube it or Google it or something like that. If it's something simple enough to do, try it if it's safe. And you might be surprised at how many new skills you'll learn.
Here's some foreshadowing. A lot of these tips can be, if you don't know exactly what we're talking about or you need a visual presentation, a lot of them can be found on YouTube for sure. So do take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then similarly, on that note, we had a lot of car problems this year, mainly with the tires. And we very recently had a nail puncture on the tire and we just YouTubed it. It was simple enough how to repair a tire with the repair kit. It was very simple and straightforward and we did it. And that saved us a lot of money because, well, also around this year, the garages are just not available because they're changing everybody's winter tires. So we would have had to wait a very long time. You know, things like changing the windshield wipers or, oh, you're going to love this. There was one time where Jonathan went to pay for McDonald's at the drive-thru and the credit card fell in the slit of the of the car window.
How did that happen?
Yes, because he had so we were waiting for the food. Like he was waiting to pay. So then he was fidgeting with his credit card.
That's funny.
And the window was open. And the credit card fell in the window.
Yeah, in the slot.
It's in the door now.
Yeah.
So then we're like, oh, holy cow, how do we take it out, right? So then we thought that we had to cancel the card, just order a new one, have it sent to us or something like that. But then we decided... That's funny. We decided, oh, let's check YouTube and see if it's easy to remove the door. It's actually easy to remove the door.
Yeah, it's really easy.
The inside panel of it. Yeah, so we did that and then we got the card out. And then more of the story is don't play with your card near an open window.
Yeah, you'll be amazed. A lot of car stuff can be done by the average person. If it's not involving the engine or anything like that or anything significant, it's pretty simple. And, you know, cars are pretty modular. They're not too hard to take apart in regards to like inner panels or even the engine bay itself. Obviously, the engine itself is a whole different story, but you can learn how to do an oil change. There's certain things you can buy, like a oil pump that you don't have to jack your car up. You can just put it into where the dipstick is, where you check the oil. You can just slide it in there and you can just hand pump it, and you'll be able to change your oil that way. That way it'll probably take you 15-20 minutes and you never have to get on the ground. You never have to
not bad.
Yeah, you don't have to jack your car up, so there's no safety issues or anything like that, or getting dirty or anything like that. And you can literally just hang out for a few minutes and get that taken care of by yourself and save yourself a good chunk of change as well too. Things to look out for, you know, when the weather changes from hot to cold or cold to hot. Check your tire pressure. Make sure it is up to what the tire pressure is. You'll find it usually on your door panel or door jamb, where the driver door is. It'll tell you what your current PSI level is, and with it being cold, it will usually drop, and with it being hot, it'll usually be very high. So just want to make sure you check that every so often. Make sure that it's in line. Another tip I have, I guess, it's not involving cars, but single-use items in your home. If you replace those things, you might not see an immediate impact, but you will see a long-term impact, especially things like paper towels. If you replace paper towels with cloth towels, it might feel strange to start that, but once you get used to it, you'll definitely see less trash. Your garbage bags will be less. There's other things such as using water bottles instead of reusable water bottles, plastic or even glass maybe, instead of buying water bottles. You know, use a Brita filter or something like that that will filter your sink water. You can always use reusable K-cups if you use Keurig for coffee or for tea. A lot of people still just go ahead and buy the Keurig pack, the K-cup packets. But if you can switch to reusable rubber ones or plastic ones, then you'll definitely save money as well too. You'll definitely be able to customize your own coffee you want or tea instead of having to go through what they have. And yeah, that's a great way to be environmentally friendly, sustainable, as well as saving some money in the long term. Obviously, in the beginning, it'll be a little bit strange, but yeah.
On that note, actually, for the girls, if you don't know what a Diva cup is, do you know what a Diva cup is?
Yeah, I know what a Diva cup is.
Oh, okay. I hope this is not TMI, but
no, it's not for sure.
But you save so much money, so much. If you purchase a Diva cup, learn how to use it. It'll be weird, it'll be awkward, but if you do know, and then also couple it with reusable pads.
Yeah.
I haven't bought tampons or pads since 2019 or 2018.
Yeah.
How much money do you save?
A lot, I'd say, because tampons are not cheap.
Yeah.
And so along with that, I'd probably recommend getting 2 Diva cups just so you can switch on and out while you're the other one boiling, cleaning it up, or if you're out on the road or what have you, and just as a way to make sure that you have a backup, I guess 2 or 3 maybe. That way you always have one that you know is 100% clean and you can use it on the go, things like that. So for sure.
That's kind of funny.
What?
That you know about it, that you have actually proper education about women's health.
Yeah,
I admire that, actually.
I mean, it's a lot to do with my ex. She was very adamant about, you know, sustainability and being able to use a lot of reusable and to get rid of like single-use things. So with us having lived together, I basically took on a lot of that stuff, and so it really does help. I mean, that's great. Some things are great, but other things are kind of one-off as well too. So for sure, I took what I can, I guess, from that experience. So lastly, we have a miscellaneous section, basically not really pertaining to anything, but one experience I've noticed is writing. When you write something, it's a good idea to read it out loud after you're done writing it. That way you can catch awkward sentences, awkward phrasing, awkward words, ambiguity. And another good thing is to read it out loud to a partner or to a friend and see what they think how it sounds. And then that way it's easier for you to catch something. Sometimes when we read what we write, we're so narrow-minded and so in the tunnel vision that we tend to miss the small stuff. But when you're reading out loud, you're reading to yourself, you go line by line and you can spot those mistakes, like those punctuation mistakes. You can spot how the language sounds, how the sense sounds, and the word choice, and you can make changes that will sound more quote unquote normal or to what audience that you're writing to, whether it's academic or educational, students, or to a client potentially, or to your boss in an email. So especially if you're writing something significant or important or salient that you want to get your point across. And then small one, learn the difference between a toilet plunger and a sink plunger. If you know who Mario is, Super Mario, he carries around a sink plunger, which is really flat, and that's used to plunge a sink, not to plunge a toilet. Toilet plunger usually has like a bulge, extends from the bottom, and that way you can fit in the toilet, and then you can plunge that way. A lot of people don't know the difference, and they use a sink plunger for a toilet, and it just sprays water everywhere. And on top of that,
I'm laughing because I have something to tell you.
Yeah, what happened?
It was one day that we didn't have a sink plunger or any plunger at all, and the toilet was clogged.
Oh goodness!
And it was late at night, and so then like the stores were closed. So I started, me and YouTube, we're besties. So I've tried to find a way around the plunger thing, and apparently there's this hack where you use wrap.
Yeah.
Saran wrap.
Uh-huh.
And you wrap it and then you duct tape it such that like there's no leak, no nothing.
Okay.
And then you just flush and then there's going to be a bulge, but there's no leak. So then you just push on it. We pushed on it a couple of times and it worked.
Oh, yeah. You push down pressure, basically. So, there's two ways to go about that. You can do that, or you can fill up a bucket of water and like significant amount and just pour it in there and hope that the pressure from that pushes whatever is clogged through. But that is a little bit tougher because if it doesn't work, then you just start filling your toilet with more water, so obviously you don't want to overflow. So keep that in mind as well too. But big difference between toilet plungers and sink plungers. Another thing is, if you have a traditional sink in your bathroom that isn't like a pedestal, it actually has a cabinet, or you can actually see the plumbing on it. If it starts to clog, you can always just put a bucket under there and undo the J-trap. A J-trap is the curve that you see when you look at the plumbing. You can just undo that, and usually the clog is happening right where that bend is.
A lot of J-traps have that thing where maybe not the bathrooms, but I know that the kitchen sinks do, where you can unscrew the little cap, and then that's where you'll find most of the clog.
So you can just undo that and pour it into the bucket. Now, mind you, please use rubber gloves because it's gonna stink, it's gonna smell. And then you just have to empty that, and you can just go ahead and put it back up and tighten it up. Make sure you tighten it correctly. Make sure it's leveled. Make sure it's tight, and you can run water right through it afterwards and check for leaks. But that way you don't have to use chemicals. Chemicals typically don't work always, and once you do use chemicals, obviously don't undo the J-trap, because then you'll have water and chemical on your hands. So
And speaking of plumbing, I don't know what it is, but a lot of people don't have strainers for their drains. And it baffles me, like, because you catch a lot of gunk with strainers. Now I know that Americans have that thing,
garbage disposal.
Yeah.
I still use the strainer for the kitchen because there's certain things you don't want down there, like forks or rice or beans or anything like that, for sure. And people also, I've seen a lot of people pour oil down their drains. Don't do that. That's terrible.
Please don't, because that's just gonna, over the years, not even years, months, it'll clog.
It'll clog and be worse.
There was one time where Jonathan poured oil, but he didn't know there was oil. I made bacon. I made bacon for breakfast, and then that oil, he wanted to wash the pot, but see, he didn't know it was bacon oil. Well, what does bacon oil do when it cools is that it hardens. So imagine that thick oil clogging the pipe. So then we had to run hot water, basically. We had to melt it down. So, please don't pour oil down your drain. Just double bag, pour it in, then throw it in the garbage. They have chemicals to turn liquid oil to a solid oil as well. I know the Japanese have that. So that's fancy. I want to get my hands on that. But aside for that, a few hacks in the kitchen. A lot of times when you buy stuff, like, okay, recipe calls for, 2 slices of ginger. You buy ginger, but now you have this whole bag of ginger. What are you going to do with it? Or, 2 cloves of garlic, but you buy this whole thing. What are you going to do with the rest of the garlic, right? So I put it in the food blender and then chop it up because most recipes calls for chopped ginger or garlic.
True.
Then you can put it into ice cube trays, and then have like little cubes of garlic or ginger. Once it's frozen, you can pop them out and then put that in a Ziploc bag to freeze. But what I like to do is that I like to lay it out flat on a parchment paper on a baking sheet. And then I like to use a butter knife, to draw squares, little squares, and then freeze it. And once it's frozen, you can snap them. And then I'll have little squares of garlic and ginger. So that I could just, when the recipe calls for it, I just open my freezer, pop two squares of garlic in my recipe while I'm cooking, and then you're fine. You're good. You don't need to waste all that ginger and garlic and it turns moldy and then you have to throw it away. And then along that line, you can also freeze the meat if you are forced to buy in bulk because you go to the Chinese grocery store and they refuse to cut it for you. Like you're asking for half of that, but he's like, oh, my machine is washed already and take it or leave it. So then you end up with, I don't know, 5 pounds of meat. Yeah, you could just cut that meat into portions, put it in your freezer bags and then freeze them and then thaw it when you need it. Did you know you can freeze milk?
No, I didn't.
You can
Is
do
it
that.
because you guys have bagged milk?
Oh, well, we do have bagged milk, but no, we don't buy bagged milk anymore.
You guys
we
are
just
true
buy
Americans.
those cartons. We buy those cartons, but a lot of times we don't, we can't use all of it because we don't drink milk that often. Yeah.
How do you frozen
Freeze
milk?
it? Yeah,
I mean, I know how
in,
you freeze it, but it's weird.
Ice cube trays.
Oh, you put in ice cube
Ice cube
trays?
trays.
What?
Yeah, and then once it's frozen, you just pop it off and then put it in a freezer bag, and then you have little frozen cubes of milk.
What?
That
But isn't the texture different when you?
Okay, I didn't try for cow milk, but I did try for plant-based milk, like oat milk.
Well, I'd say it is different.
Yeah, it is different. It's sediments, so like you have to make sure you mix it well.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's one of the.
Yeah, and
I don't normally
berries...
have. Yeah, I don't normally have leftover milk, so I'm probably never gonna try that, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you've got like berries or stuff that are ripe and you can't eat it that fast, then just freeze them. You got frozen fruits. Speaking of freezer, if you're cooking and you have a lot of kitchen scraps, so I'm talking about carrot heads and tails, carrot peels, potato peels. If you're making broccoli, you don't use the stem, you use only the crown. All of that, those scraps, you can put it in the freezer and accumulate it, and then at the end of the week, make a broth with it, a vegetable broth.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you could do the same thing for bones. If you're making, I don't know, you're cooking meat and then you don't want the chicken bones, you don't want the pork bones, just put it in the freezer bag. And then once you've accumulated enough, you can make a bone broth. It's really good.
Nice.
If you don't want to make a broth, if you want to be sustainable, I guess you can compost it, turn it into fertilizer. I wanted to make a worm bin at some point, but yeah, that's a lot of work, and I'm afraid of the smell.
Oh, that's true. I mean, that comes with territory for sure.
Yeah. If you do it properly, apparently it's not supposed to smell. But I'm probably not going to do it properly. So, yeah. And then last thing that I have to give as advice, and it's not even my own advice, it's my mom's advice. I am somewhat of a klutz. I'm very clumsy, and I am known to forget things like my umbrella in the bus, or, oh man, I lost a lot of umbrellas through my time. So my mom told me one day, just when you get up, just look back at where you sat, because then if you look back, then you won't forget something, or you left something on the bench or your seat, or if you dropped something, you'll see it. So that has saved me a lot of umbrellas, I have to say.
Man, that makes sense, because I do that when I'm traveling on a plane. When you get to the aisle and you're walking towards, I usually turn back just to double check in case you forget a phone or the passenger next to you forget a phone or what have you. But I always make sure I look back, especially because I've lost a phone at the airport, and it was not a fun time. And so,
did you retrieve it back, or it was
I got it back 2 months later.
Oh,
but at that point I had a new phone already. But the lost and found at the airport did locate it as well too, and I got it back and they mailed it to me, and I ended up giving it to a friend. But it was cool. I didn't know that I would ever get it back, but I did get it back. So it's one of those things you never think about.
I found a lost phone once on a bench. It was funny. It was during my first date with Jonathan as well. And we just were walking around the park, and I found a lost phone. People, please put a passcode on your phone, because I was able to unlock it. First of all, you don't know when you're going to encounter someone and then they're just going to extract your data, right?
Yeah.
So what I did with it was, because I was able to unlock it, I just what did I do? Yeah,
Called the last person they talked to?
No. I texted the last person they texted.
Oh, okay.
Which was basically, I'll meet you at the park, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. So I texted that person, and I was like, hey, I found this phone. I don't know who it belongs to, but if you're with them, it's still at the park on a bench. They're like, oh my God, thank you. We're going to head back. And 5 minutes later, I just gave back the phone.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, please put a passcode on your phones.
Or not, in case you lose it and somebody can message your friend, right? You never know. Goes both ways.
Right. No, but you can do this thing. In your phone settings. You can put a phone number. So it's in the lock screen.
What if you put your own phone number?
So No, well, you're supposed to put the phone number of someone else, duh. But
I've seen that. People put their own phone number and you call it and the phone rings.
Oh my God,
okay,
really?
Great. Good job. Anyway, final thoughts. Do you have any pro tips or hacks that changed your life? We'd love to learn new ones, so share them with us at theamtake@gmail.com.
laughing.
theamtake@gmail.com. Next week, we'll be talking about fads and trends through the years. Well, through our years anyway. Yo-yos, whether it's fashion, what have you, fidget spinners, the bad ones, the good ones, the stupid ones, anything's on the table. And so don't forget to tune in. Don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you guys when we get back. Thanks a lot.
See ya. Bye.